1914, when the British themselves forced different nations into one cage and called it Nigeria. The British forced people into one cage. Different nations on their own, different nations that were on their own. The British came and forced them into one cage and called them Nigeria. From the very start, the British colonial system feared the Igbo spirit. The British themselves, they feared the Igbo spirit. Pay attention. The British themselves fear the Igbo spirit. What is that Igbo spirit? Boldness, innovative, entrepreneurial, fiercely Republican, and resistant to oppression. This was something that the colonial master feared so much. It was a heavy thorn on their flesh. They can't handle it. They can't afford to, they don't know what to do about it. The British feared the Igbo spirit. What is that Igbo spirit? Boldness, innovative, entrepreneurial, fiercely Republicans, resistant to oppression. They saw in the Igbo people a threat to colonial dominance. So they began sowing the seed of divide and rule. The British began to sow the seed of divide and rule. The roots of the hatred is what today. The British were fully involved in sowing this hatred you see today against the Igbos. When we say the hatred is foundational, it is the root, foundation of Nigeria. That once you confess Nigeria, you continue to identify yourself as a Nigerian, you must hate the Igbo. That is why you see some of us that are Igbos, even though they are Igbos, they are in front line of hating themselves. They hate themselves so much that they don't even know what they are doing. They can't even control it. That is how bad it is. That is how bad it is. During colonial rule, Igbo people were deliberately excluded from key administrative roles. During the colonial rule, the Igbo people were deliberately excluded from key administrative roles. Not because they are not qualified, not because they are not strong enough, not because they are not knowledgeable. They are one of the wisest among all, but yet, deliberately, they were excluded from key administrative role by the British. Another thing they did was spread propaganda. Propaganda was spread portraying Igbos as too ambitious, too domineering. These were the language they were using in those days. And you know, when you continue to repeat something over and over and over and over again, it becomes a routine. When you repeat a lie, constantly repeating a lie, at a point in time, people begin to take it as the truth. That is why it is always good to challenge a lie when you see it and challenge it over and over again. It's a pity that we started so late. The Igbo people, we started very, very late to respond to these propagandas. A propaganda that started all the way from the British till today. From the foundation of Nigeria, from that amalgamation. It's not something that just started from the Fulani, or started from the Hausa, or started from any of the Yorubas. No, it is foundational. And simply, anytime you continue to, this is why it is important that Nigeria ends. The end of Nigeria brings the end to that hatred. If Nigeria doesn't end, the hatred will continue because it is foundation. It is the fuel, it is the bread and the food that Nigeria eats to survive. That is the energy that Nigeria needs to survive. Hatred on the Igbos is the energy. That is how important it is to them. That is why you see anybody that comes into that entity to serve in any position, it doesn't matter what position it is, you want to serve Nigeria, the first thing you have to do is to show that you can be able to underrate, undermine, destabilize, and destroy the Igbos. Propaganda was spread, portraying Igbos as too ambitious and too domineering. Other ethnic groups were taught to fear and hate Igbo progress by the British. The hatred we are talking about is foundational. That is how evil the British were. That is how evil. That is why when you mention Nigeria, those of us who knows what we are suffering and what we are going through, when you begin to represent yourself as a Nigerian, we see you as an evil person. We see you automatically, you're a demon. That is what you are. An unrepentant demon. That's what you are. And that is how Mazi Nnamdi sees every one of them. That is how Mazi Nnamdi says, and every one of us that is genuine Biafran, there is never a time you will see somebody. There's never a time you will see something out of that entity, because we know the foundation. We know their objective. We know their policy. We know why it was created. The British forced other ethnic groups, and they were taught, other ethnic groups were taught to fear and hate the Igbo progress. Up to this day, every ethnic groups in Nigeria, including some of our Igbo brothers, they fear and they hate the Igbo progress. Most of the things they are afraid of cannot be substantiated. There was a video I played yesterday where Mazi Nnamdi was explaining about this issue. That even when they claim, when they planted the seed of discord in the southeast, the old southeastern region, and they told our brothers in the different area that we are domineering, we're going to take them over. Some of them were preaching the message that will take them over. And when the case was stated, when the issue was brought to court, they couldn't present any place where they were being maltreated by the Igbos or where something was done against them. Simply because the British made them to believe so, and they believed it. And in that explanation, Mazi Nnamdi said that was why, in that case, they were advised, if you are afraid of existing with your Igbo brother, they are going to dominate you, they're going to take over you, even when there is no traces of that, then go into the service, serve in the police, take charge of the law, so that you can be saved. And that was why you have many people from Calabar, from Cross River, from River area, involved in police. They were majorly in police there to police the nation, since they are afraid that the Igbos in the southeast are going to dominate them. Even when there are no substantiated evidence that such happens. This foundational hatred planted by the British against the Igbos. But the hatred exploded into full-blown violence in 1966. This very hatred exploded into full-blown violence in 1966 when a military coup led by an Igbo officer was used as an excuse to begin mass killing of Igbos across northern Nigeria. Remember, that coup was a Nigerian coup by Nigerian military officers. The only problem was that the leader of the coup is an Igbo man. And the funniest is that today, they are even telling the people from that area that they are not Igbos. Today, you will see somebody who is from, I think, Okpanam, the place that Chukwuma Kaduna Njoku is from. The same man that brought pogrom, that took the life of people. The same man that they attacked Igbos and preached against us because of him. You see people from that area, they tell them that they are not Igbos. They come out and say, you see them online, ranting and say they are not Igbos. But because of what a brother did from that area, an entire ethnic group was attacked in 1966. A military coup led by one person from Niger Delta, Okpana, Chukwumagadon Njoku, supposedly an Igbo man. There was a Yoruba man involved. There are other tribes involved. But because the leader was an Igbo man. And the wickedness got to say that today, even people from the area of that man, people from his own village, are claiming that they are not Igbos. Some of them are claiming. And the thing is still being pushed by Nigerian politicians. Encourage them and tell them they are not Igbos. They deny their Igbo-ness, even though they know that they brought a suffering upon their brothers that we are still facing up to today. The hatred exploded, full-blown violence in 1966, when a military coup led by mostly the Igbo officers were used as an excuse to begin mass killing of Igbos across northern Nigeria. Over 30,000 Igbo men, women, children were slaughtered. Over 30,000 men, women were slaughtered. Pregnant women were ripped open. Babies were killed. An entire community were wiped out just because they were Igbos. And this very issue is not recorded as a genocide anywhere. The world did not see it as a genocide. Nobody has been held accountable for that crime. Some people that participated in this crime, taking the life of more than 30,000 Igbo men and women, ripping the belly of a pregnant woman and brought out the baby and take the life of the baby. The people, some of those who participated in this crime are still alive. None of them has been held accountable. The case is not seen as genocide. It's not even talked about up to this day. Why is so much hatred on the Igbos? The hatred on the Igbos reached its darkest points during the Biafra Civil War. It got to the darkest point during the Biafra Civil War in 1967 to 1970, when the Eastern region, led by the great Chukwuemeka Odumegwu, our eternal general and eternal leader, declared independence as Biafra to protect his own people from genocide. Our leader made it clear that the sole purpose of Biafra is to save life. It wasn't about resources. It wasn't about anything. It was a child of necessity to save the life of Biafrans. Biafra was born out of necessity to save life. Biafra was never born out of maybe interest of oil or what. No, no, no. It was to save life. That was why Biafra was born. And that is why when I see people who are saying that Biafra is dead, those people are not worth to live. They don't deserve life. For anybody to come and say that Biafra is dead, that person is not worth living. Biafra is not just created. It's not just something that was brought out because you want to harness oil, or because out of pride or whatever, or because you just want to be on your own. It was a child of necessity, and it still remains a child of necessity to save life. To save life. Biafra independence was declared to protect the people of Biafra from genocide. Nigeria responded with a brutal military campaign supported by its allies. Over 3.5 million, according to their own estimates, but we know it's up to 5 million people that died. But in their own estimate that you can read online, and they agreed to, in the estimates they agreed to, they said over 3.5 million. And you know that 3.5 million, when they said 3.5 million, you know what to expect. We know that it was more than 5 million people that died. Yet, it was not seen as anything. Most of them died out of starvation. Mostly of them who starved to death due to Nigerian blockade of food and medicine. And we know that you don't use hunger in warfare. It's a war crime. For you to use hunger in warfare is a war crime. It's against Geneva Convention. But Nigeria used that with their allies, the British, the French, the Arab nations, to an extent, the United States, because they were there, they were silent watching. They committed that genocide against Biafrans. And up to today, because of that hatred that is being planted by the British went ahead to spread the hatred outside, to create a global hatred against the Biafrans and remove the attention of the world on that. That is why today, the genocide against Biafra is not recognized as genocide anyway. Biafra genocide is not recorded anywhere. It's not recorded anywhere. But that one, that the pogrom, 30,000 people murdered in cold blood, and the civil war, where almost 5 million people lost their life. It wasn't recorded anyway as genocide. How much more do the world want us to die before they know that we deserve freedom? How many people more need to die before they will know that we need to be free? How much more people, how many people need to die again? Nigeria bombed civilian areas during the Civil War. Nigeria, during the Civil War, they bombed schools. Nigeria bombed churches. Nigeria bombed marketplaces during the Biafran War. There are evidence in pictures, in videos of these atrocities. And today, there are people who were involved who are still alive and they have not been held accountable. What else could be injustice than this? What other injustice can be greater than what happened to the Biafran people? With the help of the British and other foreign powers, they bombed our schools, they bombed our churches, they bombed our markets. And because they were fully involved, the world powers were fully involved in this atrocity, they sat on it and made sure it is not talked about. That is the dangerous truth that when they hear, they block our platforms. When we continue to hammer about it, they will think of what to do. When we speak about it, they come after us from all angles, from all corners. This is the reason why they want Mazi Nnamdi Kanu there. This is the reason why, even with the British passport, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped in Kenya. Extraordinary rendition to Nigeria, and they are still holding him, even when there is a call to release him as an innocent man. And the British is silent. It is because of this. It is British that started the genocide. That is why they cannot open their mouth and speak. That is why they cannot call for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Because they planned it. They were part of it all. From the day one, they were part of it. The Nigerian Civil War was never about unity. When you hear the criminal who called himself Gowon come to the national TV and say the Civil War was about unity, a lie from the pit of hell. The Nigerian Civil War was never about unity. It was about destroying the Igbo nation. The Nigerian Civil War was about destroying the Igbo nation. It was never about unity. If it were to be about unity, our eternal leader, Dim Odemegwu Njoku, took them to Aburi. When they got to Aburi, a discussion was made. The discussion was not to divide Nigeria. The agreement that was reached in Aburi was not to divide Nigeria. And our eternal leader signed up to everything. Gowon signed up to everything. But after they came back to Nigeria, as usual, the British made their calls and Gowon changed 360 degrees and begin to do a different thing. After signing signatures in Aburi, Ghana, he came back and turned 360 degrees. And our eternal leader said, no, that wasn't what we agreed. On Aburi we stand. And what's else? The rest is history. almost 5 million people lost their life. And this same man who committed this genocide, this man who was in front of this genocide today, who is in front of this hatred they are seeing today, is still moving around. And he had the God to come to national TV and say that the war was about unity. Unity? What unity? To unify who and who? To unify who and who? The war was about destroying the Igbo nation. And even after the war ended, the hatred did not stop. The hatred did not stop after the war. It was simply packaged into policies and marginalization. What they did is that they packaged the hatred. After the Civil War, they packaged it. They well packaged. Through the advice of the British, as always. You know, they are the master manipulators. They packaged it and told them what to do. And how did they do it? They went into policies and marginalization, which is what we are seeing today. The post-war policies, how hatred become government policy. Hatred became government policy in Nigeria. The hatred of Igbos became government policy in Nigeria. After Biafrans were forced back into Nigeria, the government promised no victor, no vanquish. But history shows that was a big lie. We know there was a victor and there was a vanquish. You see, any foundation built on lie can never stand. Only truth can stand the test of time. Whatever foundation that is laid on lie will definitely crumble. Immediately after the Civil War, they started with lie again. They started with another lie, another big lie. And they said, no victor, no vanquish. Which was a very big lie. A very big lie. That same lie that was in the foundation of Nigeria. They still activated that lie after they have fought against Biafran people and forced Biafrans. And we lost over 5 billion people. In reconciliation, they also started with lies. And they said, no victor, no vanquish. Which was a big lie. We know there was a victor, there was a vanquish. They went for it. The 20 pounds policy of Awolowo. Regardless of how much money an Igbo man had in the bank before the war, he was given only 20 pounds. And at this time, we know that the Igbos are traders and there are Igbo millionaires. Remember at that time, the father of our eternal leader, Dim Odubugojuku, was the richest person in that Nigeria. There were many Igbo rich men who had millions of pounds in the bank. But regardless of how much money you earn as an Igbo person, no matter how much you have as an Igbo person in the bank before the Civil War, the person is given only 20 pounds. A deliberate plan to cripple Igbo wealth. Deliberately, they want to cripple Igbo wealth. They want us to remain slaves. These were the people that told you no victor, no vanquish. These were the people that told you no victor, no vanquish. The next thing, it becomes 20 pounds policy. You see the unrepentant hatred, the foundational hatred of an Igbo man. As if that is not enough, they came again with the federal character policy. The federal character policy designed to limit Igbo representation in key positions, ensuring they have rights. Federal character policy, it was designed to limit Igbo representation in key positions, ensuring that we never rise to high position. When you hear federal character, even some of us Igbos follow them to talk that rubbish. Federal character. It is designed to make sure that you don't attain certain position. A deliberate design to make sure you do not attain to certain position. They know that in terms of education, just like the British were afraid, that fear of the British from day one, that fear that British has about our resilience, our brilliance, our Republican nature, they know that we can't keep silent. We will revolt when there's something wrong. Because of that same fear, they came now, they fashioned it into a different way that they can be pronounced. That same hatred was packaged. They packaged that hatred and they call it federal character policy. And some of you didn't see it. And so many of us saw it. And we continue to watch. As if that is not enough, they went into infrastructure neglect. Every infrastructure in the southeastern region is neglected. There is no federal government presence at all. The southeast roads, the airports, the seaports, deliberately they abandon everything that has to do with Biafra land. Some of you go and check history, you see that the very first seaport that was approved when the colonial masters was there was in Biafra land. The very first seaport was in Biafra land. Today, it is abandoned. It's still there. And they made sure it never functioned. I have played a video here. You know, when they complain about having seaport in Biafra land, Biafra people, our land has the closest access to the sea. Biafra land has the closest access to sea. But in the same manner, you know, they capture some minds and they say, oh, that the Biafra land is how do they say? They say Biafra is landlocked. They say Biafra land is landlocked. And when they preach this landlocked, the most painful thing is that our fellow Biafrans join them to preach and say that Biafra land is landlocked. Up to today, the one that shocked me was when this man, Nollywood actor, Pete Edochie was making a program and he opened his mouth and said that Igbo land is landlocked. You can imagine if somebody like Pete Edochie can open his mouth and say Igbo land is landlocked, you know we are in trouble. You know we are in a very big trouble. A program I saw, Pete Edochie, in an interview was saying that Igbo land is landlocked. This is somebody who is supposedly be educated, enlightened, preaching and say Igbo land is landlocked. But I bet you, Igbo land has the closest access to the sea. I have played the program here several times, where it was explained. The shortest distance to the sea is in Igbo land. In Igbo, I'm talking about within the 5 states. The first seaport that was approved by the British is in Igbo land. But all these things were abandoned because of the fear of the success, the envy of the success, the fear of the strength of the Igbo person. Not because we committed any crime against anybody, not because we were involved in any fraudulent issue, not because we took any life or we took any land. There has not been any record of anywhere where Igbos went and took over people's land, took over people. It's not because we don't have the population, not because we don't have the weapon, not because we don't have the things to do it, but it has never been in record. It is against the will of Chukwu Okike for you to take over anybody. We believe that every human being has the right to exist in their own. Whether one person, 2 person, 3 people, they have the right to exist. That is what we believe. As if that is not enough, they went into political exclusion. No Igbo person has been allowed near the presidency for over 5 decades. Stay counting. Political exclusion, intentionally, deliberately, and they will tell you to your face. The funny thing is that most of these things, they are not hiding it. Most of this hatred, they don't hide it. They defend it, they defend it face to face, go to the national team, they defend it. They defend it. And ask them, what had an Igbo person done? Nothing. Nothing. A hatred that was planted and introduced by the British from the onset because of the fear of the wisdom, the strength, the progress of an Igbo man. The ability to oppose oppression. Because the colonial master saw it as a threat, they went ahead to instigate hatred against the Igbos, and that hatred has continued today. And it is that hatred that is still making them to be in charge of the resources in Nigeria today. It is that hatred that is helping them to continue to hold the Zoological Republic. Anytime you hear one Nigeria, it is a unity in hatred against the Igbos. They are calling for your vets. They are calling for your extermination. And you are not paying attention. It is a shame. It is a shame. They went ahead to use their security officer to be targeting the Igbos. Igbo youths labeled terrorists at every given opportunity. Even when we have a known terrorist in the public that display themselves and walk around. But yet, nobody cares. The Igbo youth that are demanding for self-determination today, they are termed terrorists across the world. While the terrorists in the north are called repentant and they are rewarded. Before I came online, I just saw a video of a convoy of the terrorists in broad daylight. The terrorists were moving in convoy. Have you ever seen such a thing in Biafra land before? Have you ever? And you can imagine what will happen if you see this kind of a video in Biafra land. What do you think will happen? Let me look for the video and bring it up. Terrorists in convoy. Bandits in convoy, broad daylight in Nigeria. Have you ever seen such a thing happen in Biafra land? What we are watching here is convoy of bandits in convoy in a metro road. In a metro road in convoy. We are going to proudly celebrate convoy. So they are not using their Have you ever seen they don't hide it in Nigeria. But nobody cares about it. Nobody talks about it. But when it has to do with the Biafran people, when it has to do with us, innocent protesters who are asking for self-determination, they attack terrorists. Look at Mazi Nnamdi, languishing in jail for almost 5 years for nothing. Mazi Nnamdi languishing in jail for nothing for almost 5 years. You can imagine. But if this kind of thing happen in Biafra land, you will see a jet will come to that area and drop bomb immediately. It will take seconds. Then you know that the security officers are working. Today they are chasing Liberation Army of Biafra everywhere. Liberation Army of Biafra, who their only duty is to protect land and property of the people. They are not there to kidnap anybody. They are not there to torment anybody. They are not there to fight against anybody. It doesn't matter your nationality. It doesn't matter where you come from. They are only there to defend the people against the terrorists in uniform and off uniform. Whether you are Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba, as long as you are living peacefully in the city of Biafra land, you are safe and secured. The Liberation Army of Biafra has nothing against you. Their duty was made clear to go against the invaders of our land. But today, Nigerian government is using all their forces with the support of the Ohanese Ndibo, the support of the politicians, and they are going after these people, destabilizing everywhere, in the other hand, coming to accuse them of doing it. They destabilize everywhere. In the other hand, they will come and accuse them of doing it. But our supreme Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today, an innocent man is language in jail. Our prime minister, Mazi Simon Ekpa, who came to maintain security in our land, who came to place security and make sure the people are secured. Today, they blackmailed him. They lied against him. They pushed all manner of lies against him. And finally, they took him and they arrested him. Simply because he was calling for the self-determination of his people and defending his people. That was the crime Mazi Simon committed. What else? Self-determination has now become a crime because it is us. The criminality in Nigeria, what is happening in Nigeria is a hatred that's hatred. I don't know how to explain the hatred that is. This is something that is, it is a build policy, Nigerian policy. There was a video that Showore made also, where Showore spoke about that. I don't know whether if I can see that video, where Showore talked about this deliberate policy to keep us in chain. There was a video that Showore made on that. Let me see if I can find that video. Because, you know, when we speak sometimes, you think it's just about us. It is not about us alone. It is not about us alone. The reason they are holding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today is because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have become a voice they can't stop. They see Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as a threat. That truth that they don't want anybody to speak, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is speaking that truth. The truth that frightens them. The truth that shakes the pillar of Nigeria. That truth that is giving them sleepless nights. That is what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is speaking, and that is why they are holding him, and they are not ready to let go.
Trial cannot go anywhere, and they know that if it is concluded, it's a problem. If it is not concluded, it is a problem. So they make it an open-ended trial, so that they will look as if something is happening. But they are not interested in his trial. They are interested in holding him perpetually until people realize that that's what they are doing. And I realized that a long time ago. The problem is that everybody has become complacent about Nnamdi Kanu's freedom. They have allowed the so-called Southeastern leaders who are deceiving them to say, oh, we are negotiating, we will get this thing resolved, to allow them to calm down the restless people who should get him out. You are not going to get Nnamdi Kanu out of detention by negotiation. It's not possible.
Did you hear that? Did you know, sometimes, this very word that Showore spoke here, our Prime Minister, Mazi Simon Ekpa, have said it 1,000 times. Mazi Simon Ekpa said it. And that was why he channeled his energy on making sure, just like the message I preached yesterday about increasing pressure. I preached a message yesterday about pressure, where I said that government do not release their prisoner out of pity. They don't release their prisoner out of pity. Government release their prisoner out of pressure. Out of pressure. I said it yesterday in my program. And some of us are still ignorant of this. You think that maybe, oh, they're going to pity you. Oh, because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is sick. Oh, because they will never. Mazi Simon Ekpa understands this from day one. That was why he said that we are going to make the detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu much more costly than it has ever been. That Nigeria will see that it is more expensive to leave Mazi Nnamdi Kanu than to hold him. Mazi Simon Ekpa made it clear that we will make Nigeria, we will make the claim of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu useless in their hand and make them to know that it is more expensive to hold Mazi Nnamdi Kanu than to leave him. And I have been saying it over and over again, that nobody is in charge of the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu except the masses. That is exactly what Showore is saying here. In their own case, that they come late, but these things are things we have seen long time before now. Our Prime Minister saw it very clear from day one. Immediately, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was taken away. Mazi Simon Ekpa changed strategy immediately. And that was why Mazi Simon Ekpa was giving them hit from day one until the day they succeeded in taking him out. Until the day they succeeded, Mazi Simon Ekpa was giving them hit. Every blessed day. He never slowed down. They saw it and they saw it clear. That was why they rallied around. They spent, you don't know what Nigeria spent to make sure that Mazi Samuel was silenced. But I bet you, Mazi Samuel will still have voice in us. Mazi Nnamdi can still have voice in us. And they will never stop. You see what man, this thing that Showore said here is a key that was left for you and I by Mazi Samuel Ekpa. But we throw that key away. Today, people are coming with different kinds of policies and different kinds of ideas that I don't know where they got it from. This thing that Showore is saying here is key. I want you to hear it again. Hear it from Showore. Maybe when you hear, you know, some of us who don't value our own. That's the Onyamuma have beef and Nanania. Onyamuma and have beef and Anania. That is why sometimes we bring people from other regions. Even if it is a white man, we bring so that you can believe and begin to act. Let's hear Showore again.
We will get this thing resolved to allow them to come. Till people realize that that's what they are doing. And I realized that a long time ago. The problem is that everybody has become complacent about Nnamdi Kanu's freedom. They have allowed the so-called Southeastern leaders who are deceiving them to say, oh, we are negotiating, we will get this thing resolved, to allow them to calm down the restless people who should get him out. You are not going to get Nnamdi Kanu out of detention by negotiation. It's not possible. Nigeria is holding Nnamdi Kanu to ransom for his unity. The payment they are demanding for is absolute unity and loyalty, regardless of what they are doing to Igbos. Yes, or they are doing to other Nigerians. Unless that ransom is paid, and that ransom is Nnamdi, or Nnamdi is rescued from the kidnappers.
Did you hear that? The payment they are waiting for Mazi Nnamdi can release is force. This same force criminality unity, this force unity, this death of the Igbos, is either we take the chain of slavery, is either Mazi Nnamdi can accept the chain of slavery or he remain in perpetual detention. The only payments, negotiation, all this their political whatever, political discussion cannot save Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The only ticket and payment that the zoo want, that the British want, is for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to accept the chain of slavery, perpetual slavery. And until we rise up to rescue him by force, until we make a move to rescue Mazi Nnamdi Kanu by fire, by force, nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. Mazi Simon Ekpa Njoku said it. And he didn't just say it, he said it and he laid the foundation and he continued to do it. And we saw the effect. We saw the effect that all the politicians were on fire. When we started, they say, oh, it doesn't concern them, it's only Southeastern region. But you forgot that the Southeastern region is the pillar of the wealth of the Nigeria. It is the pillar. When Southeast goes down, entire Nigeria gets sealed up. When Southeast is affected, the entire Nigeria gets affected. We are the powerhouse. It doesn't matter how you think about it. Some of us don't understand. Some will say, go Abuja and protest. Go Abuja and protest what? If we seal up Southeast, nothing happens in Nigeria. The wealth of Nigeria, the business of Nigeria, the transition of Nigeria is moving from Southeast upwards. It is moving from Nigeria. What they do is they extract everything, both resources, forces, human resources, they extract it from our side and they push it upwards to the north. And you see Nigeria is running. Without the Southeast, nothing happens. That is why when you clamp down, anytime you clamp down, they cry. When we talk about sit at home, they say, oh, it is Biafra land. But within a short time, they begin to mention billions that they lose. All their tankers that are coming to carry our crude oil, they pass from Southeast. All their vehicles, they used to come and take the wealth from Biafra. They pass. If we seal it up and say, you cannot take the resources, there is no way to take the resources and move upwards. If we seal it up, they cannot do anything. In our own land, we don't need to go there. We don't need to go there. We block them and make sure that nothing from our side is going up. Nigeria will starve to death. Nigeria will starve to death. But some of us don't understand this. You just hear Showore say it in the black and white. that no negotiation will free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It is the people. But they have succeeded after they remove Mazi Simon Ekpa. They have now succeeded in making the people. You see, this is one thing with this. You know, all this while Mazi Simon was there. Even this Showore knows very well. That is why, for me personally, I've not seen any video where Showore was castigating Mazi Simon Ekpa directly. I've not seen. I didn't see any video where Showore was attacking Mazi Simon directly. If he has done it, I don't know. I have not seen such video. But some of them that are sensible enough, even though they have their own strategy different, they have their own interest different, they know that we are on the right path. They know that what we are doing is what we are supposed to do. I have not seen Showore in any video pronounced. If anybody has seen, please write on the comment section. Maybe you have seen, but I have not seen a video where Showore was attacking Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or attacking Simon Ekpa directly. I didn't see. Because he knows that the power to release Simon Ekpa, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu lies on us. And that was exactly what Mazi Simon Ekpa was stood for. Gearing the people up, powering the people, engineering the people, empowering the people, educating the people on how to raise that pressure, creating a massive pressure that nobody can hear, see, or remain silent. You just heard him say it. Maybe when we say it, you don't believe it. When we talk about it, you say, "Oh, these people coming out."
I think I want to say this because Nnamdi Kanu is my friend, and I've been in this court several times on his behalf. In fact, when I would come to this court in the past, they would attack me physically. I was attacked physically thrice. Just the reason I don't come to court anymore is that a federal high court judge actually gave an order that I cannot attend this trial, this current trial. Yes, he mentioned my name specifically, so I don't want to waste my time coming to court, but it will be more than...
You can imagine, a judge mentioned his name, that he must not be allowed to attend Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's trial. That is how serious it is. A judge specifically mentioned his name. Do not allow this man to come and attend Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's trial. When we talk about the hatred on the Igbos, it is not a child's play. It is foundational, planted by the British themselves, put in place by the British. They water it, they fuel it. It is in the root of Nigeria. You don't mention Nigeria without the hatred of Igbos. Nigeria can never ever survive. Any day Nigeria stop hating the Igbos, that means Nigeria has ended. That name will be obliterated. Any day the hatred on Igbos stop, Nigeria will completely obliterated. Now you know how serious it is. When we are fighting to end this zoological republic, it's not against any tribe. It is not against any individual. It is not about anybody. Not about any tribe. Not about hatred on any tribe. It's about destroying the foundation that is standing on our neck. An evil foundation that was led by the British to press our neck. The neck of the British on our neck, making us not to breathe. That is what we are trying to remove. When we want to say, break up Nigeria, throw that name to the dustbin where it belongs, it's because we want to save our life. The neck of the British has been on our neck for too long. Their leg has been pressing our neck for too long in the name of Nigeria. You don't know how serious it is. So when you hear any president of the world come and say it is a duty, like the idiot that called himself Obama said, that it's a duty to make Nigeria remain one. They all know what they are doing. They all know what they are doing. They all know what they are doing. All of them are serving their own interest. As we speak today, the war against Biafrans is still going on as you're watching me. The modern war continues. Today, they have modernized it. They have made it in different kinds of ways. They have put it on so many ways. They are fighting that war. Even as we speak, it is still going on in different kinds of ways that people are not paying attention. Even today, the same hatred is greater than before. It's even increasing. Not with guns and bombs, but with laws, with policies, with propaganda. They have now try to modernize it in a different way. The hatred and the war that the British put in place, it is still going on as we speak. Today, it is not with guns, not with bombs, but with laws, policies, and propaganda. Igbo businesses are targeted and sabotaged. You see what is happening to our businesses across the world. You see how they are demolishing and destroying the properties of the Igbos. The demolition that is happening today in Lagos State, to be precise. You see that attack. You see the demolition of properties of the Igbos in Lagos. You see where plazas were built, new building constructed, things were built, more money spent. The government was there when the foundation was laid. The government was there when the approval was sought for. They gave the approval, they gave documents, only to wait. After you have wasted your money and build it, they will come and destroy it without compensation. Who does that? Where were they when the foundation was laid? Where were they when the approval was sought and they gave? Where were they when people got, when they were issued, those people were issued CFO? Where were they? Igbo businesses are targeted and sabotaged across the entire nation, more especially in Lagos State today, I have to speak. And I'm going to play a short video I got from one of our sisters who is in the front line. One of our sisters who is in the front line bringing informations on what is happening. That sister has been doing a great job, including in Biafra land. He went to Lagos to go and look and bring us informations on what is happening. And I'm going to try to get the video of that our sister so that we can look at what is happening, what they are doing to Igbo businesses in Lagos. What they are doing in Igbo businesses in Lagos. We will not keep silent. The hatred against us, the hatred against Igbos, it is not just a mere say. It is not a propaganda. It is a reality. It is a reality. It is a reality that started far, far back. It didn't start yesterday.
Ekele m unu. Ọlọlọ ndị Ekachimete na-ekwu, a ka na-ewetara unu ọnọdụ Igbo. Dịka ihe anyị na-eme bụ ebe ọbụla ihe mmekpa ahụ na ihe mkpagbu ahụ na-eme ndị Igbo. Anyị na-aga bịa na-ewetara unu eziokwu ka o si eme. Maka na ihe nchọpụta bụ na Nigerian media, ihe ọbụla gbasara ndị Igbo, ha na-achọpụta ya. Ebe anyị nọ n'ụbọchị taata, unu ga ha ahụ na ka ụmụnne anyị ndị nọ na Spanda, nọ na Texas, na-ebegharị akwa dịka eji were katapila na-akụrisi ihe ụmụ Igbo na-arụ na Spanda. Unu maka ndị achụ enweta Spanda nwa.
This is our sister, Mwada Nneka. She has been doing a great work. Now she went to bring a report on the destruction of Igbo businesses in Aspanda Trade Fair. This was a place that our eternal leader, Dim Odumogojuku, went and saw, and he shed tears. Complete swamp. Complete swamp was given to the Igbos, and they invested money in that swamp and turned it to a city. Swamp that if you leave that place for 1,000 years, a Yoruba man can never invest a dime there. Give that place to a Yoruba man free of charge. Give that place to a Yoruba man free of charge. They will never ever invest anything there. But this sea, swamp, bush was given to the Biafrans, and they turned it to a mega city. Today, that thing that our eternal leader Dim Odumogojuku saw and cried, that thing he saw and he shed tears, is happening. He won them. I want you to see the brief report that came from there. I'm going to bring the complete report and show it later on. I'm going to bring the complete report. But let's hear the report that's coming from Ada. This is our sister. Even though she's speaking in Igbo language, to also encourage those Igbos who are there. But the world must listen. That is why I have to interpret. The world must pay attention, because the war they are waging against our businesses, the sabotage out of hatred, nothing else. Nothing else. These people have not done anything wrong. Because in the quest of Nigeria, their so-called one Nigeria, they have done nothing wrong. Because in Nigeria, you are entitled to own your property or business anywhere in Nigeria legally. This is what they did. They didn't commit a crime. They didn't snatch land. They didn't take any land. They bought it. They invested money. In fact, the place that was given to them was a swamp. They made it a land. Today, the government came and destroyed property that worth billions of dollars. Property that worth billions of dollars is what Lagos State is destroying without compensation. I want you to pay attention.
Obasanjo nyere ha mgbe na-eme privatization ha were ya ebe abụọ ọhịa enweghị uru ọbụla mana today ha chọọ na onye ebe a dịka ebe na-eweta nnukwute ego na-akwụ tax na support government. Recently ka anyị ahụ na ha afụgo na anyị ahụchala ọ na-aga ha na-amịbata nwayọọ anyị nọzire dịka last week wee fụ ka o si efegharị n'anya mmiri fụ ka katapila si na-arị ụlọ ndị mmadụ na-arịtu ya ka anyị ji wee ka anyị bịakwa ka anyị wetara ụnụ ka o si wee mee onye mmiri ya nọ ebe a nwanne gwa ha aha gị.
Afọ ọmụmụ Chukwuma Ileka. PA to CSO of Aspanda.
Okay, onye nwa PA to CSO Aspanda. Ya nwa na-akpọgharị anyị n'ụbọchị taa ka o gosi anyị ebe akụrịrị ihe ebe anyị na ugbo abụọ
new site Aspanda new site.
Ihe ahụ Aspanda new site. You can imagine ụdị ego a ebe a arụsị agha ndị mmadụ bido ahịa ụdị tax na ụdị ego ha ga na-eweta na government.
You see, in all these businesses, in Lagos State today, the Igbos are the highest taxpayers. They are the highest taxpayers. But because of you can see a wickedness that have gone to the extent that they don't care about the revenue they generate from you. They don't care about the task. The only project they have is to make sure that they destroy you. They make sure you don't exist. They don't care about the task. And I am not surprised. Likewise, so many of us. Every one of us had a voice note that leaked from the terrorist today that they made the vice president. The terrorist that is the vice president, we saw his communication with Amosu when he was talking about what is happening today. When he was discussing exactly what they discussed on that very leaked audio is what is happening in Lagos today. Nothing removed. The way that man, the way that terrorist that is the vice president today, the way he discusses was the way it is. And you can now understand that that discussion was made with Tinubu. That discussion was made with Tinubu, and that terrorist leaked it to Amosu. And Amosu was hearing it as a surprise. Even he himself was hearing it as a surprise. But today, when we saw that voice note, we thought it was a joke. After 4 years, just like they said, he said that the Igbos will never have any place in Lagos. The Igbos will never have any position in the Nigerian government. They say the Igbos will be reduced to nothing. But I bet you, they are not God. You did that in 1970, after the Civil War. You took away everything and you left off with nothing. And look at where we are. How do you think you can put us down now that we are scattered across the world? Now that we have more voice in the world, now we are everywhere. You think you can do that? You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. I only blame some of us who are not waking up. I only blame some of us who are still bent on investing in other places instead of investing in their hometown. I only blame those ones. These things are not coming as a surprise. Nobody is going to put the Igbo Biafrans down. The more you try to destroy the Igbos, the more you destroy yourself. The damage that you're causing to yourself is irreparable. Let's continue to hear.
Tata, because na ibu ndị Igbo na na-achị ha na-eme anyị ka eji rigo ya. Biko na unu ga-eche anyị ga-ewetara unu ka o si na-eme ndị o metụtara ihe kpatara eji na-eme ya. Ndewo. Tell him to cut. Igbo bụ Igbo. Dịka anyị si na-agwa ụlọ na mbụ, ihe abụcha ụlọ ahịa ndị mmadụ rụrụ arụ. Ụlọ mana ihe awụkwanụ ndụ anyị bidoro 2 naira Awolowo nyere anyị na ka a lụsịrị agha. Ewere 2 naira nye anyị ka anyị wee nwee ike ịhụ na egbutọpụrụ anyị after Awolowo kwuru na ji agụụ as a hunger, as a weapon of war. Mgbe ha sị na ha agaghị emeri agha Biafra. There were over 1 million children of the Biafra nation. Then after the war, Onyekwa naira to finish us up. Ngwana meho. Even talked about when President Buhari Tinubu continue from every from every indication. Even in the Kahane, all question, I continue from every. I want to question. I want to go the build up to 2023 election. Amusu, former governor of Ogun State, Potakona, what I am the in Katayala, our current president, Shetima, Shetima, when vice president, Shetima, vice president, when I got in the Banana, one big in Kitchen. And do not policy, Buhari, from now continue to Tinubu, even a policy how to strangle Igbo business. Unfortunately, you're about to go back. Makana ha go get importation. Only the bitana here, give back on me, give Baba and give sheep. There na give another one. You know, even how work. How about to push in my all the Lahaji, bank, Lahaji, how can I can strong. So what is in the one now? We make the attack. Odo. Eba no na azahia. Mana Chineke nke ndị Igbo. Chineke nke anyị na-efe. Ọ bụrụ na Chukwu ekwe ka akpọchapụ anyị n'agha. Ọkụkọ ka ekpochapụ anyị oge esi ize ego anyị niile na bank. Ana m agụ na ndị Igbo ihe wụ another face. Asị na chịkọta onye ụwa achụpụ anyị ebe ahụ dị mma. Ihe a na-abụ a wake up call to ndị Igbo na ọrụ ole mgbe anyị ga-enwegharị ọnọdụ. Ọrụ ole mgbe anyị ga-anọgharị.